Hello, I'm Henry Lowen. Hello, I'm Henry Lowengard, and I have a bit of a cold, so I thought I'd be a much better voiceover than I would in my normal squeaky voice. Anyway, I'm here to talk about PolyHarp, a fairly new program that I've been working on for many, many years and finally squeezed into the App Store recently. What is PolyHarp? Well, to talk about PolyHarp at all, you have to talk about these. This is an Autoharp, which you probably don't even recognize too much because they used to be used in schools a lot, in churches, and in Appalachian music and stuff like that. I may throw a link or two onto the screen here in the YouTube-y fashion. But basically, an Autoharp is an easy way. It's a zither, and inside you can sort of see there are bars with felts on them, and the felts shut out strings and don't shut out other strings, and the ones that are not shut out make a chord that you can understand. So for example, this is a C chord, this is an F major, and here's a G7th. And with just those three and an occasional D minor, maybe an A7th, you can play a heck of a lot of popular and folk music. So a lot of times it was originally played on a table flat. Since like the 30s, people who have needed to stick them near microphones have held them up on their chests, which makes them sound a little different actually, quieter. But on the other hand, it was being amplified because it was next to a microphone. So, the normal way you think of them is just pushing a button and strumming. And often it was a pretty simple strum, like and of course you can, on this kind of Autoharp you have 21 chords, and they kind of run in the circle of fifths and are pretty useful. But this isn't all about Autoharps. Oh, another thing about them is people who've been playing them for 45 years like I have generally also learn how to finger pick them, like finger picking a guitar, but with more strings. Very good. Well, that's an Autoharp, and that's how it works. You push the button down, and when you strum the strings, the ones that are damped, I shouldn't cut my head off. When you strum the guitar, when you strum the strings, the ones that are damped shut up, and the ones that are not damped ring out, but only if you excite them with your picks or fingers. So that is Autoharpery. And so many, many years ago, in the 80s, I wrote a computer version of an Autoharp called Lyre that ran on Amiga computers. Only Amiga makes it possible. And it ran MIDI out based on, how you strummed it, and you strummed it with a mouse, and it was pretty intense because it could control MIDI in a way that keyboards really couldn't control it. You had really good control over the velocity portion of your MIDI, which meant that you could do some interesting effects. And of course you could build these massive new chords that were pretty arbitrary, and sets of them. So I let that stew for a while, and I've been writing iPhone apps for 10 years now, and so that means why not do that for the iPhone and the iPad? Actually, it's for the iPad because the buttons, the strings and stuff, even on an iPad, and even the big iPhones are not even as big as an iPad mini, which is what this is. Love it. And let's go and show instead my apps. Yeah, there's a bunch of them there, including a bunch that haven't been released and may not ever be released. But here's PolyHarp booting up. And as you can see, it works, works portrait, works landscape, works portrait, works landscape. I actually developed it more in portrait because it's longer. You have your arms are shaped like this. They go like this better than they do like this. So a lot of my setups are more portraity than landscapey. But people like to plug them into little docks and keep them landscape. So landscape it is. Anyway, let's go and pull up what's called the default PolyHarp, which looks suspiciously like a real Autoharp. We have over here a bunch of chord buttons. We have over here a bunch of strings. And virtual, of course. And a bunch of controls at the bottom. And if you push the button in this normal mode, the button kind of stays on, the chord button. That's not the way a real Autoharp works. But it's doing that just because people like to do things with one hand, and that way you can just do it with one hand and pick a little thing here. I should probably be playing this into an amplifier or something so you can hear it a little better, but hey, I'll just get closer to the camera and the microphone. So here we see, and because this is an iPad, you can, use multi-touch to strum it. Well, that didn't look too good, but you get the idea. So you can just pick this up and strum away with the chord set that is more or less like normal 21 chords, except I actually have more chords on this one. I sneak it over just so that I can play in the key of E a little bit better. And but that's just the beginning of where it goes, because obviously, playing Autoharps for many years, I have about 10 of them. They come in different, I've always wanted to have one that had more strings, or longer strings, or deeper strings, or made different timbres, or had lots and lots and lots of chords. And because I'm a microtonalist, I would like those chords to not be in the equal tempered 12 per octave system. I would like them to have 31 tones, or 19 is actually. I actually built one with 19 tones at one point, or reconfigured one. And other experiments with music theory that fall out naturally from building your scales out of the harmonies of chords instead of just making up a formula and saying, hi, these are your notes, use them. So that's the idea behind PolyHarp, and in future videos I will go and talk a little bit more about the actual specifics, but I'd like to give a big overview. So the idea is I want it to be as close to how a real Autoharp operates as I could reasonably expect. There are actually features that I have on some of my Autoharps that this does not simulate, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to hint about it, and you'll have to plead with me in the comments to go and reveal what those features are. Anyway, on to the next video. Thank you so much.